Okay, moving on. Lesson 1.1. So I got a spelling mistake up here first. This should say not her, but here. Here are some. So what is an equal measures of center when considering, and you're going to need to know this for today, what is an equal measures of center when considering mean and median? Both of these, so mean and median, and you're going to write this down, measure the center of a data set. An equal measure of center is when the two have the same value. And it's quite rare, it doesn't happen a lot, but finding the physical middle of a data set is very different than finding the average of a data set. And when you have a measure of center that is equal, it means that your mean and mode both equal the same number. And you're going to get that today. Did you guys see a question like this on CMAS or MAPS?
I don't
No?
know.
You had one?
I did.
Yeah. It's a pretty popular kind of question, equal measures of center. And it's a term that gets used in news media, and you hear about it. Like at least I do, because as a math teacher, I kind of hear those things. You probably just like zone out. But I hear it, and I'm like, oh, math term. But it's one that if you know, when they say like, oh, there's equal measures of center, that just means that mode and median are the same thing. So the MAD, okay, the mean absolute deviation, is determined using the mean of a distribution. Now that might not mean much to you, okay, but I'm going to show you what it means. It is used to describe how much, on average, the math test scores differ from the mean. So you have a mean, which is your average score. So I'm going to take you through the steps, and we're going to figure out what my MAD is on these test scores. I have these test scores, 78, 80, 92, I rocked it, studied really hard, and then 68, didn't study that hard. So my mean, how do I find the mean of these test scores? Someone tell me. Tristan?
You would add them all up and you would divide by 4.
78, so I want you, in your box, write these down. Plus 92. Plus 68 equals 318.
He's done this like 4 times today.
Yeah, I tried. That was not on the spot math. Earlier it was, but not this one.
He lies.
So 318. So now what do I do? I have the total. Divide by 4. Yep. 318 divided by 4. So 79.5, and we're going to round that up to an 80. So my mean, so I'm averaging right now an 80 on my math tests. My median score, I have to put this in ascending order or descending order, either one. So it'd be 68, 78, 80, 92. Well, I crossed that one off, crossed the other one off. I have 2 left. How do I figure out what my median is?
It's one in the middle between those 2 numbers.
And I can just look here and I can say, it's a 79. Or I can add 78 and 80 and divide by 2. If I can't see it, I can add the 2 numbers, divide by 2. Okay.
You smell like onion.
The mad. I just had gum. I don't know.
Calling out Mr. Vick.
Smell like onions, man.
Seriously.
It's my cologne.
What's on it? I want to smell like Shrek.
I want to smell like. That's my cologne. It's named Shrek. Okay. Mad. Okay, the mad is a little bit different. And again, the mad is basically it's the average, okay, and how far off the average I score. So this is what I would do. I'd use my mean, and I'm going to find, and this I want you to underline this, the positive difference. So when you find a positive difference, the biggest number must always go first. Otherwise, you'll end up with a negative number. Exactly. It has to be positive. So here, Patrick, I'm going to go 80 minus my first test score, 78. So I had a difference of 2. I'm going to write that over here. Then 80 minus 80. Difference of 0. And then 80. Whoops. That's not going to work out because 92 is bigger than 80. 92 minus 80 equals 12. And 80 minus 68 equals 12. So, step 1, find my mean. Step 2, take my mean and find the difference from my mean test score and all my test scores. Here's that data set now. I've got a new data set 4. And I should have the same number in my data set as I do to find my mean. So I got 2, 0, 12, and 12. Now, I add the differences. So I add these differences together. 12 and 12 is 24, plus 2 is 26. So I'm just going to come over here. 12 plus 12, plus 2, plus 0, 26. So my sum of my differences, which is kind of an interesting term, right? Sum of differences, is 26. I divide that by 4 because that's how big my data set is. And that equals 6.5. So this is what this 6.5 means. This is my MAD. It means if I averaged an 80, that was my average, and I have a plus or minus 6.5 mean deviation, that means if I take this test again, I can score, the chances are I'm going to score anywhere from a 73.5 to a 86.5. Okay? It is. It's a big standard deviation. Do you remember at the beginning of the year I was talking to you guys about standard deviation in tests, right? And I think in this class we were saying that we went from a standard deviation of 6 down to a standard deviation of like 3.8. The smaller standard deviation, the more consistent you are, if that makes sense. Okay? That means you might not do super well, but you never hardly ever do super bad. You're consistent. That means if I get a 72 and have a standard deviation of 2, that means I'm always around a 72. 74, 70. I'm not like, I don't go up in the 90s and then go down into the 40s. I'm consistent. And when we talked about standard deviation in here at the beginning of the year, I brought it up because I was concerned that we had our average, our mean, was really good. But our standard deviation of 6 was big, meaning we had kids completely bombing and we had kids completely acing. And we don't want that. We want everyone to do better. We want it to be smaller.
Oh, so you want everyone to bomb?
No.
Wrong.
Could. Or you could have everybody.
You just want all the lower kids to get.
So, today, you guys don't have a lot of time, but you should be able to get through A pretty quickly. Today you're going to work through, and we'll continue this work tomorrow, obviously. You're going to work through AL, BL, CL, and DL on page 8. It is on page 8. You will need to use your notes. Okay, it will ask you when you get to B, you're going to have to find the MAD. So you might need to go back to your notes. A is going to ask you to find median and mean. Use your notes if you need support. Page 8. If you have questions, raise your hand. I'll come around.